Case of the disappearing honeybees. So to my strawberries, think of your favorite fruit. Now imagine a world without which that fruit or any other fruit or many nuts, vegetables or flowers is extremely rare. Without honeybees to pollinate the flowers of these plants, our diets would be very bland and boring. In fact, 1 in 3 bits of your food you eat is thanks to honeybees. Yet, honeybees are vanishing around the world, and the reasons have puzzled scientists for a long time. Scientists have evidence, however, that the disappearance might have everything to do with humans. Busy bees. Bees live in colonies, which are busy, well-run places where each bee has a job to do, and all the bees in the colony depend on one another. Outside of the colony, a lone bee can survive for more than 24 hours. Honeybees from a single hive can visit more than 100,000 flowers a day. Once a bee finds a flower to bloom, it collects pollen from food and nectar to make honey. At the same time, the bee performs unintentionally one of the most critical processes in nature, pollination. As the bee brushes against the anthers on the inside of the flower, a bee's body picks up pollen grains from the flower. When the bee lands on another flower, the pollen of its fur brushes off onto the pistil inside the flower. This leads the fertilization, a process that will eventually result to seed. Without fertilization, plants can reproduce, and when the plants are gone, the species that depend on them for survival also disappear. Missing in action. In October 2006, an American beekeeper arrived at one of his apiaries, or bee yards, in Florida to pick up 400 hives. 3 weeks before, the hives had appeared healthy, but now he found the hives were nearly empty. Food, baby bees, and a few queens were all that remained. The beekeeper needled down, looking for dead bodies, but 20 million bees had disappeared. This beekeeper was not alone. Reports of other losses began to surface across the United States, Europe, Argentina, China, and other countries. During the winter in 2006 to 2007, roughly 750,000 of the estimated 2.4 million colonies in the United States had vanished. On average, U.S. beekeepers lost 38% of their colonies. In 2008, the largest known disappearance occurred in the almond tree groves of California. 2 billion bees vanished. Both farmers and beekeepers were desperate for science to shed some light on the mystery. On the case, scientists named the problem colony collapse disorder, CCD, that quickly determined the symptoms. CCD happens in a matter of weeks, when what seems to be healthy hive collapses. Yet few, if any, dead bees can be found. The only bees remaining are the very young and the queen, members of the colony that normally would never be left alone. Honeybee scientists from around this country started working on CCD with a simple goal: to find out what's killing the honeybees and stop it. Reaching the goal have proven far more complicated than anyone expected. CCD scientists surveyed beekeepers and took samples of wax, pollen, and live and dead bees. When they could find them, the samples were shipped to laboratories to be studied. When scientists dissected the bees, they found that many bees had many diseases. It seemed that their immune system were compromised. But why? Scientists investigate the unusual suspects that might damage honeybees' immune systems. These include several parasites, such as a mite that feeds on bee blood, transmits viruses, and lays eggs in same hive cells as baby bees. They looked at fungal bacteria to make it difficult for bees to eat and leave them too weak to forage. Scientists also found a virus that caused paralysis in a large number of CCT hives. While these are extremely dangerous to bees, researchers decided that none were the cause of CCT, so their investigation turned to farming practices. Just one crop. Once upon a time, farms were small and grew many different crops. Today, most farms are massive and grow a simple crop, such as wheat, corn, or soybeans. This arrangement is called monoculture. Some farms like the monoculture because it's very efficient, but bees can survive on such a farm for long because once the simple plant crop starts blooming for the year, the bees starve to death. Monocultures present bees with other complications too because pests love monocultures. Farmers must spray chemical pesticides to eliminate them. In American agriculture, a large portion of the food we eat is treated with pesticides. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, more than 1 billion pounds of these chemicals are used on our crops annually. It's challenging for farmers to find chemical pesticides that kill harmful insects but leave beneficial ones, such as bees alone. Pesticides spell trouble for many creatures, bees in particular. So farmers try to spray crops at times when plants aren't blooming, and honeybees are less likely to be nearby. Still, scientists found pesticides in the samples that they collected from the hives with CCT, and the new class of pesticides has more scientists particularly concerned. These pesticides are systemic, which means that the seeds are treated with chemicals that are infiltrated every part of the plant as it grows. A single treatment lasts a long time and kills various crop pests, a seemingly good thing, but bees loses coincide with the appearance of these new pesticides. Pesticides might weaken the bees' immune systems, letting diseases like the paralysis virus take hold. Beyond this, though, some pesticides target the nervous system. They might affect the bee's ability to learn, remember, and navigate, all of which could contribute to bees' failure to return to the hive after foraging. If bees can't find their way back to the beehive, they die. Scientists found evidence that sympathetic pesticides exist in beehives that have CCT. And the timing of the introduction of these new pesticides coincides with the appearance of CCT. They cannot, however, state conclusively that these pesticides cause the disease, so more factors must be considered. Keep on trucking. Bees have been buzzing around the world for 150 million years, but the last 10,000 years, the relationship between bees and humans have transformed from hunters to wild honey. Humans have become beekeepers. Today, many bees depend on us as much as we depend on them. Since honeybees are excellent pollinators, moving them into a field while crops are blooming is a great way for farmers to ensure a plentiful crop. Once bees began to live in hives constructed by humans, the hives became mobile. Today in the United States, semi-trailers drive hives all over the country. The honeybees they carry annually pollinate 15 billion worth of food in the United States alone. The thought of trucking 1 million bees down the highway may seem strange, but it makes sense with modern monocultures. Farmers might need bees to pollinate one crop in February and another one across the country in April. Almond trees, for example, are completely dependent on honeybees for pollination. In California, almond farmers require to use 1.4 million colonies of honeybees. That's about 60% of all managed honeybee colonies in the United States. Around Valentine's Day, bees are trucked to California groves where they are, and when the almond trees start to bloom, they go to work. For 2 weeks, those 600,000 arcs of blooming trees are a busy and beautiful sight. For the other 50 weeks of the year, those groves are terrible habitat for bees. There's nothing to eat. Transport isn't great for the bees either. Millions of bees die from the stress each year. And once they're on the road, the bees don't have access to natural food sources. What beekeepers feed them instead? Some scientists linked to junk food. Bringing in bees from different parts of the country or the world also spreads pests at a rapid rate. This is just one more piece of the complex puzzle of CCD. Help the bees. Because the complexity of CCD, scientists have yet to find an undeniable cause or cure for the disorder. However, there's still hope for honeybees. By making a few changes, humans can begin to create honeybee-friendly environments. One thing honeybees need in diversity. Lots of different wildflowers means lots of forage. To answer that need, honeybee strategies full of blooming plants are springing up. In these places, bees can escape parasites and find plenty to eat. A movement of rooftop or backyard beekeepers is growing too. For a long time, it was illegal to keep bees in New York City, but the ban was overturned in 2010. Cities such as Seattle, Chicago, and San Francisco has also made it illegal to keep bees. These beekeepers keep fewer hives and don't truck them around. People who don't need keep bees can plant blooming plants. Even monoculture farmers can take a small portion of their land and grow plants that will sustain bees all year long, but just for a couple of weeks each year. They might also use different pesticides or none at all. We all can make choices to help the honeybee. After all, the honeybee helps us every day.